and did it. I actually, the first time I did this play, back in the 90s, actually, I relapsed afterwards. And so when you said that as a trigger, I was ready. And this was 90, probably 97, 98. So it's not a new play. But yeah, and so that's why it's therapeutic for me also. Therapeutic to the point where it's good for me in terms of being a director and doing it, and then also part of it was remembering the first time that I did it was painful because I wasn't ready, and I think I must have probably one of those deals where you want to celebrate your success. So here it is. I did a play about addiction and relapse. Relapsed the day after I did the play, probably 2 days afterwards. And so yeah, that is a good question.
What are you trying to reach with this production?
Well, the main thing is the main people, of course, is people in recovery. Part of what Ananifo Ministries, Ananifo's ministry I direct, which the word Ananifo means to return to soberness, and it's found in 2 Timothy 2:26, which means to return to soberness, and the verse there says that they may recover themselves from the snare of the devil. The people that I'm trying to reach through A.D. Me is people in recovery, people that are either in treatment, people in recovery, people who need to see on stage some of the things that they went through and or they're going through, and that they can know that there is hope, that God's grace and God's mercy is there. The other part of it is, of course, is very personal for me because every single thing in the play, as I continue to look, every time we rehearse and look back over it, is, as I shared with the cast, is something that I experienced, with the relationship, definitely in the crack house, and, there's obviously only so much you can put in an hour and a half, but that's the audience. Then the other thing, I also want to reach people who have, directly or indirectly, they're wrestling with somebody who either needs to get in treatment or need to get some help, and afterwards, how can they help them? So then that would be part of after we do the play, there where you can get some help in terms of getting some help for a loved one that struggles with addiction.
Now, what about people that aren't involved in church? People that don't go to church and all of that. I mean, there's an inspirational thing, but just what are you giving them to say, hey, other than church, there's still help?
Yes, absolutely. The church should be a place where everybody should be able to get help. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not always the situation. The good part about it is nowadays there are more churches that are involved in recovery ministries. There's an awesome ministry that is faith-based and biblical-based called Celebrate Recovery, which ministry that I got involved in, and we had it at our church, and I still attend meetings. It's a 12-step meetings, and it's.
Question is, okay, now, what made you start? See, now you were successful. Everybody think that you have to be poor and harvest and struggling and to get on crack. And what made you just say, I'm a crackhead? Just because, because a lot of people don't want to admit that when they high up on good jobs. Tell me something about that.
Well, the kind of a short version of it is, I started using drugs when I was in church. I started using when I was 39 years old. I didn't come from a broken home. I did not come from a crack family or drug. I'm the only one even to this day that had a drug problem. My father was a pastor. My mother was in ministry, known in Detroit and Chicago very much throughout the churches. I have a book that I wrote, Musings of an Ex-Crackhead, that kind of goes into detail how I exactly got involved into drugs. But mainly, I had some issues in my marriage, and I got involved in an affair, and then started hanging out and picking up women on the street, and that's the short version of how I got caught. But I was in denial for a long while. As a matter of fact, I'm a preacher and a pastor. I used to literally preach on Sunday mornings, and then I would be in a crack house by 6 or 7 o'clock. And I stayed in denial, wouldn't tell anybody because I thought I had this image to protect. And finally my world fell apart. My world fell apart. And it took a long while for me to admit that I was a crack addict. And just like in the play with Dave, it's like, I got this. I'm not like them. All I need to do, I was a counselor before that. So I kind of figured that, look, all I need to do is just counsel myself, get in the Bible, and get back, because I am not no street crack addict like everybody else. And as a matter of fact, one thing Narcotics Anonymous called that the yets. And so everything that I thought that I wouldn't do, there's not a single thing that I said I wouldn't do. To this day, I end up doing. And some things in my book, and some things is gonna go with me to glory. But trust me, I did some of everything you can imagine in the crack house, and it's only because of God's grace and God's mercy that I'm here. But and I look back on that now, and I look at, man, this is the very same thing that I said I wouldn't do. I end up doing it. I end up doing it. I end up being just like the people that I said that I would never be like. I was like, and I finally got to the point when I was homeless and on the streets, when I had a loving family, that I'm like, you know what? I got a problem. And I went through several treatments before I, came to, where God has got me today.